She was just coming off a divorce to Kenneth Branagh.
Huh?
So much of her past work was connected to him. To think that she was going to have to start over in so many ways, and then to be the only person to have still in history won both for Best Screenplay and for Best Actress. This is Emma Thompson's moment. Welcome to the table.
We're your hosts, Michelle and Laura.
This is where we talk movies, food, and the ways that they bring us together. Grab a seat. This episode starts now.
All right, Michelle, we are back. We are doing a quick transition, a costume change, if you will, to our Regency section of the season. And we are honored to be joined by first-time pod guest, Erica, our cousin. Just wonderful human all around. I can't believe it's taken this long to get her on as a guest. Erica, welcome. Welcome to the pod.
What a lovely intro. Thank you so much. I feel the same way about you, but if I had a podcast, I would have invited you earlier than you invited me, but it's fine.
Okay. Michelle, give us a little bit of context into your costume inspiration for today.
We're going to be covering 4 Regency era films, and I was trying to figure out how am I going to space this out, because they're all pretty similar. So I went with my most Regency-esque dress that I had. I added this little bit of whatever this thing is that they wear around their necks. I haven't researched it or figured out what it is, but this is leftover tulle from my Baroness Schrader costume, which is great. I've got this hat. I'm trying to hide the strings that are not, period accurate. And here I am. And all I know is Wuthering Heights. I have that one locked, ready to go.
Nice.
And then we'll see what happens with the last 2.
I should have just shown up with a horse head, because that could have translated into any of the films that we're going to be covering.
Save that for the Godfather one.
Wow. Things are getting dark already. Okay, well, this was the first time that I watched this movie. Absolutely loved it. I didn't really know anything about it. I've never read the book. But Eric, I'd love to start with you. Was this the first time you've seen this movie? Have you seen it? What are some of your memories of Sense and Sensibility?
Well, I'm so glad you asked, because I'm like you. I'm a Sense and Sensibility neophyte. I had not seen it. I'm so glad you guys introduced it to me, because it jogged a memory I had from when I was in 5th grade. And I starred in our school play, and the title of the play was Sense and Sensibility.
Okay.
What?
Kismet.
But was it the Sense and Sensibility?
No.
Please explain.
No. So let me tell you. Sense and Sensibility was spelled C-E-N-T-S, and Sensibility was, right, the C version, which is not a word. But basically it was a play on Sense and Sensibility, Jane Austen, where the main character had this fever dream and her coins came to life. There were like some sisters in there. My name was Jenny. Brought it into modern times in the 90s.
Can I just say Jenny is not period, but Brandon is, because
Brandon, I know. I was like, is he going to pull out a skateboard?
Did you have to do it in front of the school? I have so many questions.
Yeah, I probably have it on film somewhere. And I had to do it in front of the entire school. And I do remember part of one of the songs, Sense and Sensibility. There's a difference, It's the difference between up and down. It's the difference between high and low.
Hey, I'm so impressed. That makes sense that you were the star.
Of course, yeah.
And I do feel like the lyrics translate a little bit into the theme.
Yeah.
There's some highs and lows. There's currency involved. There's a lot of exchange of money. That's why in this
a lot
predicament.
of undercurrents of wealth, and inequality.
So
Sure.
I feel like your music teacher was doing the Lord's work, and I'm so happy that you were the star. And next time I see you, I am requesting a live performance, and Michelle can maybe do a revamped stage direction of this one.
An idea jar, our first revival of a show.
Let's go off Broadway next time.
Michelle, well, I know this wasn't your first time, but I would love to hear your history with this movie.
I guess because this is our first Regency movie that we're covering, I want to get this out there now. I feel like I'm the type of person that you look at me and you think this girl is like obsessed with Jane Austen and she loves all things Regency. But I was like never really introduced to it. I've truly had people in my life start talking to me about it, like we're already in this conversation and I know what they're talking about and I don't. So like half the time I've just kind of nodded along, and then half the time I had to fess up and say, actually, I've never read any of these books and I've never seen any of these movies. But I did come into discovering all of these movies that we're covering through a very weird source. I read this book by Curtis Sittenfeld, and the book is called Eligible, and it's a modern retelling of Pride and Prejudice that we're going to cover later in the season. And I loved it immediately. And then I still haven't read any of the actual books that these movies are based on, but I did start watching the movies, including this one. So I have seen this once, but I will say this time around, I enjoyed it a lot more. I was a lot more. I mean, it's such a treat to get to cover these on a podcast because it makes you pay attention to the details. And I think the details of this movie are where the magic is happening.
Well, Eric, I'd love to start with you.
Yeah, I mean, I think the nostalgia factor honestly was one of the things that immediately like clicked for me watching this. Professor Snape was in it, and I was like, this feels right. And fresh-faced Kate Winslet, being obsessed with like Titanic, which was like a few years after that. And I loved being able to think about like the next film that character was in. It just kind of led to like all of these side thoughts, and maybe that's my ADD, but the film itself, I mean, I think obviously is like a work of art. The craft of just the writing, right? And the dialogue and how intentionally everyone spoke back then. Like, it's just beautiful. Like, they just spoke in poetry. And like nowadays, it's like Riz and Glaze and like blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my God, like it was so like beautiful and romantic. And they read poems to each other like after dinner. It just made me feel nostalgic for an era that probably would have died of dysentery, but like it felt like it was still like a beautiful era that I wish I could have experienced part of.
The actual creation of this movie, I think, is so beautiful. I feel like the director and the producer, again, like the script is obviously amazing, but I think the reason why this movie works so well is because of how beautifully it's shot. The actual setting of where this movie takes place, like I'm sure that kind of not even brings in the nostalgia, but like a want to spend time in the UK and go to the countryside. And there's a lot of juxtaposition of like the city life versus the country life,
Yeah.
and during that time period, the types of people that are living in those settings, and what their day-to-day life is like, and how everything is very much tied to kind of this class system of, will you marry well, will you have enough to own a house in the country and the city. There's just so many beautiful shots in this movie that I was like, I needed to almost still frame it, and I'm feel so embarrassed that I had to watch this on my laptop because this movie deserves to be in a museum on the big screen. There was something about this where the like camera angles that they made decisions with, like there were certain pans where they kind of would like draw out in the room and kind of like a conversation would be happening, but it was almost like we were like moving away. And then like just having these really intimate shots, I feel like especially with Emma Thompson, and like just being able to really understand what the characters are feeling when
Mhm.
they're not saying exactly how they feel. And I feel like for, the focal point of this movie and the heart of this movie is Emma Thompson. He's the one that wrote it. So there's all these like little things and the humans and the hands that worked on this movie that made it come together so nicely.
Yeah, my very first note was also the atmosphere and the cinematography. I love anywhere that has like a lush green
Mm.
lawn or grass, and I felt like I was oscillating between wanting to book a trip to the English countryside or to Ireland, in addition to all the kind of exterior shots and the gardens and where they're having their picnics. All of the interiors were so beautiful, and it is kind of funny to me that they had to move from their beautiful house and, like, downsize and live in this cottage that was
Yeah.
I would move into
I'll
that
take that
cottage.
cottage right now.
Yeah, in a heartbeat. And I've been watching so much of the YouTube channel Homeworthy lately and just watching all these house tours, and I felt like I was watching all of those interior scenes through that same eye, and it also took a lot. I was really trying to just be focused and take my notes to not be looking at Facebook Marketplace and seeing if I could find some oil paintings or candlesticks or a piano. I mean, everything that was in those scenes, I would bring into my house today.
Oh, it's so beautiful. I have this note because viewers can see Dom and I just moved into a new apartment. We only have a bed and 2 chairs. We don't even have a table to eat on. Very Regency of us. So this week our focus has been on trying to find rugs. It might have been in Mrs. Jennings, Chelsea, third home, whatever it is, or another part, and there's like this beautiful rug, and I needed to like pause. I was like, "Oh no, I shouldn't have been doing rug shopping before this because now I'm too focused on the setting and I'm getting distracted by these rugs." But they just don't make those rugs like that anymore, let me tell you.
I wonder
Uh,
because that was 1995. Was that before like product placements in movies were a thing?
I even think if I always wonder in movies like Home Alone where they have like the Coca-Cola bottle they're
Yeah,
next to.
yeah.
Now I think it's a little bit more like it's equally as sneaky but also in your face. She's reading like a Wayfair catalog.
Use my
There's
code Eleanor50 for 50% off this rug.
See Mr. Willoughby, if Miriam was the one reading the catalog, Mr. Willoughby pulling out his little mini version. It's like, I never go anywhere without
Yes. Okay, but the setting, I know we were kind of talking about this at the beginning. I was having a big old chuckle yesterday while putting together my notes about the sheep because there are so many sheep scenes in this movie. And as I was reading a couple of articles and facts about this movie, the director, for some reason, has some beef with the sheep. I don't know if they were, caused longer days or they were moving around too much or they didn't have someone to kind of like control the setting. But there was something that I came across that specifically said Ang Lee hated the sheep. But I had in my notes probably 4 to 5 times, I love the sheep. Yes, more sheep, more sheep.
Kind of a tangent but related. Gary's one of his close friends, like our close friends, she just launched a business called Blue Lemon Studio where she paints oil paintings of landscapes and sheep and like cows and stuff like that. And she's incredible artist. And we just ordered an oil painting of sheep. I swear. Like literally 2 days ago.
amazing.
We'll link to her shop. She's incredible. This is talking about product placement. I'm like, and now use my code.
But we are supporting the arts and supporting friends. We don't
Yes, we
support.
love it.
We love it. While I was watching this again, because I'd never seen it before, when they said Devonshire, I was like, oh my God, Devonshire. So I had this grand dream last year when Dom and I decided we were going to do like solo trips and then meet up at the end of our trip to do like a longer week. And I had this plan to actually go to Devonshire because I found this beautiful kind of like hotel that they do like cooking classes and things on the property. And I didn't end up going, and I ended up going somewhere else, which was equally as beautiful. But I still have this place on my list, and I feel like this movie was a nod of saying, like, "Laura, you have to go on this trip." And now I have to bring the 2 of you. We will find a date. and I will make sure that we're all going together.
Or idea jar. We may have already had this in the idea jar when we did the Sound of Music episode, but like
Yes.
film to table branded excursions to
Yes.
movie
Ooh,
locations.
Yep.
I
Idea
love
jar.
that. Such a
Yeah.
good idea jar ad.
Wow, our idea jar is runneth over today. First Sense and Sensibility revival. Now film to table curated trips. Michelle, I want to hear from you.
Let's just let loose and talk about Emma Thompson
Yes.
and the kind of her story within this story.
Mm.
So the three of us, we typically don't try to text about the movie ahead of time, but I could not help myself last night and texted Laura a gif of Chris Pratt from Parks and Rec kind of doing his surprise face in response to discovering that Emma Thompson was married to, or is still married to, the actor who plays John Willoughby.
They're the love of each other's lives.
No, literally so in love.
And Laura had a similar response. And then today we were texting with Erica, and the very first thing she said was, "Hey, I found this really great tidbit. Did you know that Emma Thompson is married to the guy who plays John Willoughby?" And we should say the actor's actual name. It is Greg Wise. The reason I was thinking that, I'm really blocked this out was because as soon as he showed up on the screen, I was like, who is this guy? I feel like I would have remembered someone who looks like that showing up in this way
Michelle,
on
what
his
did you
horse
actually call him though?
in our text.
Yes.
I don't know, like the hot guy on the horse.
Yes.
Yeah, the way that I discovered it was not even, the typical is like you're on the Wikipedia page, it says who their spouse is. I wouldn't have even known his name, but just like I was clicking on Emma Thompson, there was a picture that came up. It was the two of them, and she had her hand like lightly placed on his stomach, and I was like, wait, that's Mr. Willoughby. I was like, are they at a rewatch of the film and they were close? And I was like, oh my god. They're in love. They're so in love. They met on this film. She had just been getting out of her first marriage. And I think my favorite thing that I read was actually a story recounted from Kate Winslet about how Kate Winslet, ironically, I mean, it's also not ironic. I feel like there's always these weird stories on films that she got hypothermia from the rain machine. Did you read about this as well?
I wouldn't be surprised.
This
She
is
like
really method
deathly
acting.
ill for half that movie.
This
So
poor woman, I mean, first she does this and then she has to drown in the Titanic following this
she's
years
just
later. I
waterlogged
mean,
for all of the
that's why
movies.
she's the treasure of films because she's going the extra mile. But she was sick and she was lying on the couch, and Emma Thompson and Greg are consoling her, and she was like, and little did I know the two of them are like flirting while they're over my almost dead body. And I could just
Love
read
that.
it in such the Kate Winslet way. But it's just one of those things where there's all these weird cosmic moments. I mean, I don't personally know Emma Thompson and I haven't read much about her, but I can imagine that this movie is kind of like the movie that changed it all. The movie that she met her husband, that she won the best screenplay, that probably opened her eyes to life in a different way, and really made her dream come true of getting this movie made. And it freaking translates so well in this movie. I mean, it's clear the amount of passion that she had while making this.
I'm tingling because of how many chills I have. I know you mentioned this briefly, but I feel like it's worth going into a little bit deeper, that she was just coming off of a divorce to Kenneth Branagh, who was having an affair with Helena Bonham Carter. Not to get all like
This
gossipy, and I
too.
know we are
No, gossip.
in our text we were already comparing ourselves to Mrs. Jennings, but just to be at this age, she's in her mid 30s, and to be going through this, I think that any of us at that age would feel like, all right, my life is over. And not just her relationship and her family, but Kenneth Branagh is also a big deal, and
Yeah.
so much of her past work was connected to him. To think that she was going to have to start over in so many ways and to step up in this way, to be able to write this script, to be able to star in this, even though she's way older than this character is in the book, and then to be the only person to have still in history won both for best screenplay and for best actress. This is Emma Thompson's moment. But also think about the millions of things that she has done since then.
Yeah.
And she hasn't stopped. She's still going.
Yeah.
Course. I mean, this was like her magnus opus, but like she's like, come on. Nanny McPhee, like I know people are like, oh, Nanny McPhee, but the transformation unmatched. I mean, she's it. She's really it.
You
She's
know
it.
when people say, like, "Don't meet your heroes," I wanna meet my hero. I wanna meet her. I always say that Kate Winslet is, like, the number 1 actor that I would wanna have dinner with, or one of them, but I think that Emma Thompson, after seeing this movie, is I'm inviting them both to the table.
Yeah.
Because they wanna have dinner with me, obviously. But I feel like one thing messing with my head in a really good way was thinking about it from the lens that she's the one that wrote this screenplay. Because the character of Eleanor is so beautiful. As an Erica, we talk about this all the time, but I am fascinated, absolutely fascinated by sibling dynamics and age order. And Eleanor, and this is a testament to Jane Austen and the way that she wrote these characters, and then Emma taking it the extra mile. But like, Eleanor is such a just magnificent character. She takes care of everyone. She is kind. There's just these early signs from even the opening scenes where they're like, they're losing everything and she's trying to stay strong for the whole family. She is wrapping up gifts for people that work for them that no longer are going to have jobs, thinking of everyone else around her. And she kind of has to like stay as this rock throughout the whole movie and not show any emotion and not
Yeah.
share with other people that she is longing for a partner and she is hurting. She is trying to hold everything together, but she never lets that interfere with the relationships that mean the most to her, which
Yeah.
is her sisters and her mom. And I think that's just really telling of someone of Jane Austen writing this character and then Emma playing it so well. It's exactly how I would imagine Emma to be in real life, is
Yeah.
this person that has a very strong foundation and is able to hold space for the people around her, and her fault is kind of almost taking on too much and not giving herself enough. So going back to your point, Michelle, of everything that she's going through during this time in her life, I think she had been writing this script, but it's almost like, you know, you always read stories after films come out, and there are these art forms where people make movies or write screenplays that it is such a healing experience for them, and that's what I like to believe this movie brought. Like, I think that Eleanor, but also the entire film, like, healed Emma,
Yeah. I
in
mean,
her life.
also she got the hot guy on the horse. So like talk about
Listen.
healing moment.
I mean, I'm not comparing myself to Eleanor, but
Yeah.
Good,
I am
Michelle.
an oldest. I am
Yeah.
an oldest sister, and I was having a little bit of a morning yesterday, and I felt like when I got to the end of the movie and I saw that scene, which they kind of took it in more of a humorous way when we finally see her kind of break down and let it all out. But I was like, this is real life. Like this is like true oldest daughter behavior that like
Yeah.
nothing you can't like nothing's going to get to us. We got it. We're going to take care of it. I'll keep your secret even though it's affecting me negatively. The other thing that like they barely brush on is that she also just lost her dad.
Yeah.
So all of this under this umbrella of grief, And then she gets to the end and she has this happy moment and she finally just lets it all out.
She really let it all out.
Edward Ferrars was like, I don't know if you guys disagree with this, but I feel like he was giving nothing during that entire movie. So she had to like give all of it in that
Yeah.
scene. And
Yeah.
maybe that was intentional because of his character and not Hugh Grant's fault. But I was like, this guy? Really? Well, he's Hugh Grant, but like also if it wasn't Hugh Grant, like, really?
Let me ask you though, Erica, how much do you think that atlas would have costed today? Because I bet it would be pretty expensive. It was a
All
pretty
right,
good
so it's
gift.
like a money thing, we think?
So that, Erica, what you said reminded me because Michelle and I just covered the movie About Time, which is a romance film. But one of the things that we loved so much about it, that it was also very much a father-son film and on different relationships instead of just, the conventional ones that we see in all these love stories. And one of the things that I loved the most about this movie is that, yes, it's a movie about sisters trying to find love, trying to navigate their own fantasies and ideas about what it means to live
Mhm.
a good life and, playing into the things that maybe Marianne is reading about and learning the hard way of what actually comes to be. But I think this movie is less actually about the romantic relationships between them and the men that kind of come in and out of their life, and more about sisters and
Yeah.
their bonds and how strong that love can be. It's again just a testament to Emma's writing because that just completely flies off the page, not just
Yeah.
from age order of siblings and their personalities, but just like in the way that they look at each other. There's this really early moment when Marianne and Eleanor are just sitting in bed together talking, and Marianne is poking fun at Eleanor for being very direct instead of wear her heart on her sleeve and saying how she actually feels. And I just thought it was such like a tender introduction or sneak peek of seeing them alone together and
Yeah.
what is being spoken about behind closed doors. I know that all three of us have sisters and we grew up sharing a bedroom, so we know the sacredness of before bedtime chats and how everything just kind of flows out. And it's almost like the men are more not like chess pieces, but it's almost a reflection of that time period where marriage is a little bit more of a financial decision
Yeah.
and you have these fantasies of a man coming in on horseback in the rain and saving you. But to Brandon's credit, he prefaces that do not kind of get swept into the fire and the ideas of this beautiful romantic ending because it just doesn't happen that way.
Right. Yeah. No, it's so true because I feel like that time period that the movie was not literally the Regency time period, but like the 90s that the movie was made, that was the quintessential like rom-com birth. And then like the early 2000s and like it was all very formulaic. This, to your point, it was like it wasn't a romance movie. I think she probably intentionally was like, no, I'm gonna write romance differently because this is not reality. It's messy and it's painful and it's hard won.
Yes.
So I think that was what you said is right. So I'll give Edward Ferrars a little way, but not so much because he also came off like dried paint.
I
Yeah.
agree. But like every story, if everything is in the spotlight, then nothing is. And I love for this movie, and I think for a lot of these movies that we're going to be covering, that the family relationships and the sibling dynamics are kind of the star. And I especially I really, really love this relationship. And I felt like the casting just made it all that better just to see the
Yeah.
two of them together. I mean, like, what a treat for us to get to see Kate Winslet and Emma Thompson together. Like you said, Erica, like before anyone really knew who Kate Winslet was,
Hmm.
but you can see, I mean, there's a reason that she's become such an acclaimed
Yeah.
actress because it's like out of the gate, this movie, she's just
Mhm.
did this fantastic performance.
Was this her
Yeah.
first film?
I don't think it was her first, maybe one of her
I think it was like
first.
her second.
Yeah.
She was 19 in the
I
movie.
mean,
Severus Snape slash Colonel Brandon was 46. To Sorry to get back to the gossipy tabloid thing, but that also was a distraction for me in the film because I read that before the movie that she was 19 and he was 46, and I was like, "Ew."
I know. It's a lot. I mean, there's a lot of things written about how it was just like a massive weight to carry. That is a difficult role to play. And
Mhm.
she did I mean, you could see every ounce of energy oozing out of her into
Mhm.
that. But Erica, the thing that you had said earlier about the fact that she goes on to do Titanic after that and then her whole life changes, it's actually so beautiful to think about that because you see her development. Not that she was bad in this movie, she's fantastic, but
Yeah.
she only gets better
Yeah.
and she
Mhm.
really grows into like the woman that she is, the strong, like willed and like such an advocate for other women in the industry. She seems like such a wonderful person who really like cares about paving paths for others. I would love to hear both of your thoughts on Marianne's character. There's so much of the plot lines tied to the decisions that Marianne makes and like how she kind of drives a lot of the characters to like move around on horseback around her.
So I love Kate Winslet. I really liked Marianne in concept. She kind of started to annoy me a little bit. It was such a great contrast to Eleanor, and that was obviously very intentional to show the juxtaposition between sense and sensibility. But it just felt like she was trying to make Eleanor's life difficult. And, like, that was her main goal in life, whether it was, like, climbing the grassy knoll in a thunderstorm twice. She just came off very, like, selfish and self-interested with the Willoughby thing, and then she didn't care, what anybody thought or didn't wanna hear it, which is very typical of someone young and in love. The end with Colonel Brandon, her ending up with him just felt very like, "What?" So, she wasn't my favorite character.
I felt the same way, but I think going back to what you just said about the the contrast, it's almost like it was needed,
Yeah.
and it kind of it's just love Eleanor even more because you're watching her romantic experiences unfold, and almost right away, you're like, "This isn't gonna end well."
Yeah.
You know, I don't know, there was a part of me that when she meets Willoughby, I'm like, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm just following, I'm being too critical of comparing it to every other movie that this isn't going to end well. But I was like, he's going to add tension. There has to be something. He's going to break her heart. He's too free spirited. They're too similar. But I felt like there were aspects to her that I resonate with. And I feel like most women can that were so almost blindsided by feelings
Yeah.
that we're not able to have a clear mind about what is actually going on. So I agree with you, Erica, but I think like it almost those things pinched me because it was like a reminder of how I was in my
Yeah,
adolescence.
I mean, she was relatable.
I mean, she's falling apart almost in every scene, but
Right.
especially when they go to London, that's such a pivotal moment. She's still pining over this man, and then the thing that crushed me the most is that she ends up gaslighting herself into being like, "Well, what did I do wrong? Did I do something to make him act this way and not wanna be with me?" And that's like the power of this writing, and when this book was written, like, that is a human experience that clearly has existed forever. Kudos to Jane Austen to even writing that as part of her character experience. I know I had brought up the second rain scene number 2, which really leads to her almost demise. I thought it was a really beautiful reflection that her looking out on this like hill and this castle is kind of like it's not just about the heartbreak because like we see her scene after London kind of like trying to understand what just happened, but it's almost like she has lost her understanding of what love and what her dreams were. This is what it's going to be like when I meet the one that I love. We're going to hit it off really well. We're going to have the same humor. We're going to be like two fires coming together and we're
Yeah.
going to burn everything down and it's going to be so much fun. And her looking out on that hill in the rain and just like so dramatic. And she is just like, I have lost who I am. And it's almost like she needs to sever this
Mhm.
wild part of herself because of what he like tore from her. So it really is such like a powerful scene and incredible performance by her that she needed to do that. I mean, I can't imagine like the emotions that were going through her during that part of the film.
Laura, I think that that was like such a smart observation that she's not just mourning the loss of this relationship, but kind of this idea of what she thought that love was
Yeah.
going to be like this fairy tale that we're all promised and have, like you said, we've has always been promised to women,
Yeah.
and her kind of having that aha moment.
She got it. Like she
Mhm.
got it. It's not like she didn't have it.
Yeah.
It's almost worse that
Yeah.
she experienced Willoughby
Yeah.
and then had it ripped out from under her
Well, I
because
think Eleanor
there
also told her he was gonna propose, right? Like, she
Yeah.
then was like, "Oh, and by the way, he was gonna propose to you."
yeah, and maybe there is I did believe certain aspects of this that he is, I think, a horrible person and plays women, but I also think that he really did care for her
Mhm.
and he probably would have messed it up and probably would have hurt her, but I think in the moment, like, his intentions were, "No, I really am into this woman." So it's almost like she saw what could have been and got all the things that she's been reading and poring over in music and books just to lose it.
With Willoughby too, like, it's very clear he's supposed to be, quote, unquote, "the villain," right? But, like, he's also complex in terms of, like, his situation and everything, and, like, it's not so black and white, and I think a lot of the characters were like that. I mean, it wasn't black and white, like, Edward Ferrars had this, like, past that, he was not proud of, and then I will say the only character in my mind that was irredeemable was, Mrs. Steele. I see no redeemable qualities for her, but maybe she was just a woman of the time trying to do what she needed to do to survive the social hierarchy, so
I
yeah.
think that she got what was coming to her when Fanny went AWOL on her
Yeah,
while she
that was
was
such a great scene.
playing with feathers. There's so many like activities that women were doing back then to bond with each other, including Marianne's character like clipping wheat in a field at one point. I have so many questions. But even like Fanny's character, she's definitely supposed to be the villain. And I friggin' loved her. I was like, this woman, I just want to spend every scene with her. Again, another these magic decisions with
Mm,
this movie, like the credits rolls like, every single person that was placed in this movie had a purpose. They weren't just, like, this side character to have other people exist. Like, even Mr. Palmer is hilarious. He's just so angry, but then he, like, helps Eleanor when Marianne's dying and he has this soft side to him. I feel like everyone had complexities and had that tone of satire, but not one way. It wasn't so serious or so funny. Everyone kind of like was able to bring both sides into their performance. And that's the beauty of British theater.
Speaking of theater, I had 3 characters who I was imagining that if this was a play that I would want the 3 of them to come out and bow together because I felt like they had equal like standout moments in my mind and we're all kind of doing the same thing, but in their own style. And Laura, you already mentioned Fanny Dashwood, who is their sister in law, like stepsister in law. And then we also already mentioned Mrs. Jennings, who is kind of the woman that they end up living with, who is like this very gossipy woman. And then her daughter, played by Imelda Staunton, Charlotte Palmer. And I thought that the three of them were just like, this movie could not exist without them, the ingredients of those characters.
We're a
And it would have
trifecta.
been boring without, very boring without them.
And that's what such a incredible creative decision and also a testament to the actors' performances. But like Mrs. Jennings is very much a character that's there and gives a lot of exposition and explains
Yeah.
things, but I want to spend every minute with her. So this is a fantastic film for that reason because all these elements are coming together so well and playing off of each other. There's so many characters in this movie. You know, this is a question for the table. You can deliberate at your next tea party. What character do you feel like you most resonate with?
What are your answers? I feel like I feel like Eleanor's eldest daughter energy was who most related to. How about the two of you?
Yeah. I feel like I wanna say Miss Jennings just because she, like, take herself so seriously. I feel like that's B most of the time. I mean, I think with Eleanor, like, obviously, I resonate with her, like, keep calm, carry on-ness, like, kind of move forward in spite of tragedy or whatever it is. Like, I think that I resonate with. I think Marianne, I don't really, but I think the first love, like, heartbreak thing is obviously very relatable.
I mean, I kind of said it, but I think there's definitely aspects of Marianne. I wish that
Mhm.
I also had her piano and voice skills. That would be nice. But yeah, I think there's aspects of Margaret just because she's like the youngest and I feel like growing up as the youngest sister of the group, there's this line where she says after the first rain scene and Marianne twists her ankle and she leaves the room because they called Margaret to go get a towel to put on her ankle and she's like, "Oh, won't say anything important." While I'm like, basically, she's like yelling from the room. She's like, "Please, I don't want to miss out." But yeah, I think in all of them, I feel like even, you know, even though Edward's like so painfully boring, I feel like I resonate with his disposition of like longing for love and not like wanting to wanting to deviate from like the ideas of, you know, needing to be someone great and like have this wonderful job in society and like, you know, marry rich and do all these things. Like he wants simplicity. There's this part where he's talking about how I've always wanted to live in the country and have a quiet life. And I feel like that comes through in a lot of the characters and the countryside moments that we have. I think I like Eleanor's character the best, even though I wish that I had a little bit more of her qualities. I'm definitely
Yeah.
more of a anxious, emotional, wear my heart on my sleeve woman. Um, but I like to believe that when I'm older and a little bit wiser, that I can be a little bit more like Eleanor and Michelle.
And Michelle Eleanor.
Yes, Eleanor. Already, you know, teased out a little bit. There's actually one other thing that I do want to say, and I think it will tie into our next section about things that we don't like, because there's like a flip side of this. Because this was a book, so this isn't all credit to Emma Thompson, but I actually like really enjoyed the twists and the turns in this
Yeah.
story.
Yes.
Like there were a lot of those moments where I was like, "Oh my god, what is going to happen next?" I'm like, "I need to know
Yeah, the
what
whole, like,
Willoughby did."
Charlotte Brandon, like, storyline thing with Willoughby and everything, I was like I had to
And
rewind it because I was like, I didn't catch the full twist, like you
Yeah,
said.
I
I was
also
just
had to rewind it.
and
Because
because
I
yeah.
was like,
there's
"Wait, what
an
happens?"
English
I put
proper,
subtitles on. I was like, I gotta really get this.
I'm like, did I miss something? But like,
Yeah.
yeah, there was the part where I was like, the suspense of what Willoughby did is absolutely killing me slowly. And the length, I need to go back and see how long it took Miss Steele to reveal the secret that she wanted to tell her, but she was speaking in hushed tones, and I was like, "What is it, girl?
She
Spit it out.
dragged that out.
Spit it
But
out." And there was a part of me that was like, "Wait, is she, like, in cahoots with Fanny? Did she, like, hire her or something to mess with the family? This is too much of a coincidence." And no, she just was taking forever. But I loved that bombshell. I was like, "Oh, they're
yeah,
engaged? Another asshole? This guy friggin' led her on?" Great work, Jane. Kudos to you.
great work, Jane.
You locked me in. So I know both of you have kind of hinted at aspects of this movie that you did not like. Michelle is shaking her head, and I kind of feel like Michelle has a long list for this one because she's being very tight-lipped. So Michelle, let's air those grievances.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just piggyback on what Erica was saying about Edward, Hugh Grant's character. I felt like the character itself was pretty boring, but also I don't want to say something bad about the script because we love the script so much and we love the story so much, but it's kind of weird that he disappears for the whole middle of the movie. I almost feel
Cool.
like the whole two-thirds in the center of this movie he's not part of.
Yeah.
And I think that there is something about all three of the guys in general that, like, Laura, you hinted at this. There was like a flip side because on one side of this, I was very much on my toes because I didn't know what was going to happen. But the other side of me was like, none of this makes any sense. And we're not given enough time with the people who end up together.
Yeah.
And I have to tell you that this is another, like, I cannot believe that I had just recently in the last couple of years had seen this movie before because I spent the entire movie convinced that Emma Thompson and Alan Rickman were the two who got together at the end. And I was so shocked when they
Actually, that would have been sweet. That
but
would
I
have been
think that this was like
yeah.
the Love Actually plant that was in my head that I
Oh,
thought, oh, the reason that they cast them as husband and wife in Love Actually was kind of like a reunion of
Yeah.
this relationship. And then also adding in this factor that in Love Actually, that Hugh Grant plays her younger brother. I think I also could not
mm,
when the two of them were together at the beginning, like together, like not even like barely together, they hung out.
yeah.
I
Looking
was
at
think
atlases.
yeah, looking at atlases, I was thinking that he ended up with Marianne at the
Mm,
end.
mm,
So I was very disoriented. The Alan Rickman and Kate Winslet, it was a little too much, even for that time.
yeah.
It was like the age gap combined with the lack of chemistry
Yeah.
between them, combined with this story where none of these people were together. Like, I think this is why I was so fixated on Willoughby is because he's the only only like guy character that was like bringing anything that had me
Yeah.
intrigued, not just him being hot, but like truly we really only see him have chemistry with Kate Winslet. And even there's even like this one like second where they're having one of their picnics and he has a little moment with Emma Thompson and like, okay, well, this guy just has chemistry with everybody. And then
You
Hugh
did.
Grant and Alan Rickman, I'm sorry, but like their characters were
Yeah.
just not bringing it to this
I
movie.
I'm almost happy that it's that way because it just felt like more of a sister film
Yeah.
than a
Yeah.
love story, and I kinda just, like, take it as that. Kinda like they're just in the background and women losing their minds over these
Yeah.
bland pieces of toast, as Erica and I
Yes.
say.
No
Uh,
honey jam. Yeah.
no honey, no jam.
Yeah.
But I also think that because Michelle, I'm very big on, like, movies that don't have a happy ending, and it's difficult because I'm like, "But it's Jane Austen, and, like, who am I to tell her how she's gonna end her book?" I feel like in a book setting, yes, like, totally fine, But in this movie setting, I would have loved for this movie to have just ended with the three daughters and the mom and Marianne playing the piano. Like they're looking out the window to their future. They've just been through all this shit. I just don't love when movies like have to appease the group that it's like, well, it has to have a good
Yeah.
ending. Has to get married to this guy that she's not really into because Willoughby broke her heart. I understand the tropes, but the moment, which again was like another like where I'm talking about the other side of the bombshell, where at the end the guy is coming to tend the fire and is like, "Oh, I saw Mr. Ferris with Miss Steele and they just got married." And I was like, "Oh, okay, good. Let that happen and that Eleanor is gonna go on with her life and she's gonna be fine and she doesn't
Yeah.
need man from the city to make her happy." And I just think like it would have been a stronger ending if they all were kind of like, "We're good.
Yeah.
We got our message. We made it through the storm. Let's move on." Alan Rickman, I actually think like his character, not in the romantic sense, but he was kind of like one of the only like the only like decent man in the
Mhm.
movie who didn't really do anything wrong, like was maybe from the age gap part, but like
I
he
was wrong.
was looking out for them and I do think his intentions were sincere. He kind of had like an eldest child character in my opinion, but it could have just been like he was like a friend who looked out for them
Yeah.
instead of it being a romantic.
No, I agree. I was like not rooting for them to end up with anybody. Like I was like it wouldn't I agree with you, Michelle. Like I didn't feel like the Edward Ferris like proposal at the end. I was like, don't. Like it just
Yeah.
felt like there was no development in that relationship. She kind of just was like pining over the idea of him. And
Mhm.
then he just, like, shows up out of nowhere, and then she's like, "Yes." Like, yeah, it's just that part was disappointing, I think, was just the development of those relationships, and then the ending, to your point, Laura, like and I'm all for, like, a good, like, solid rom-com romance movie where they, like, run off into the sunset, like, I love that so hard. This, I wasn't like, "Oh, swoon," like,
No,
no
for
s
none of
no
them.
swoon moments.
All right, guys, we got to rewrite. Let's rewrite a new
There's a new one
Sense and
coming out this
Sensibility.
year, so
New,
we'll see. We'll see how they redo it. That was the other
yeah,
fun fact that we uncovered. Nearly there, so maybe we need a part 2, like, rewatch
Yeah.
of the new one and then or not rewatch, but watch of the new one and see if they changed anyone.
we
Any
don't even need to
really
put that in the idea jar. It's just gonna happen. I also just Michelle, I thought of another idea jar because we still haven't made T-shirts for the podcast. My T-shirt that it would be very Laura coded is no happy endings,
Yes. Oh, that
nice.
will be perfect.
Oh,
and then
that's
people are like, that's a little sexual, and I'm like, yeah, that's the point.
oh, I like
Love it.
that, and then Michelle needs to wear a T-shirt that says Michelle Lenore on it.
Yeah.
Love it.
Erica's gonna be I heard it from Miss Jennings. Wink.
Gossip Queen. She was the original Lady Whistledown.
XOXO Gossip Girl. What else, guys? I mean, I kept just writing down. I just kept calling Willoughby's character John number 2 because their names are both John, right? Or making did I just make that up in my head?
John number 2.
Wait,
Yeah, I
who
think
else
it
is
was
John?
Because there's John like Colonel, or are they or am I Mexican?
John Dashwood.
John Dashwood.
Oh, and Sir John Middleton.
Yeah. So John,
So there's 3 Johns in this
there's
movie.
3 Johns. So
Benny.
I just
That's
kept
one John.
referring
We can't have
I
that.
just kept referring to John as John Willoughby as John number 2. And I just kept saying John number 2. I don't trust him.
That's really funny that you bring that up because I felt like I was getting lost with the characters' names
Yeah.
because to your point, they all were so similar or the same, except for Brandon, because like that feels not right for that
Yeah.
era.
I do feel like this is an opinion of someone who's not really familiar with this world and just kind of the Regency things, because I feel like I felt the same way about some of the other movies we have coming up. There are a lot of characters, and I was able to I knew who each individual was, but I didn't always keep track of the names. But what's most confusing to me in it seems like a lot of these Regency stories is that there are connections of how people are related and how people know each other, but some of them are a little unclear. And then one thing that appears in also a lot of these movies is like someone has like a ward, which is like essentially just like a random person that's in their care that's living with them,
Yeah.
Yeah.
who I think that that's what Lucy Steele, who
Okay.
Edward was engaged to, was, I think, that type of character where she was just like not really related to someone, but like living with a family. And also the person who Alan Rickman had kind of like the tragic love story with was a ward of that family. So I think that it's just something I'm still like I'm getting my footing on and understanding how that all works.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think I was also like, I know that story was important with Brandon's past love, and they did a good job of like setting it up to hint that he had this like tragic experience. But I was so lost with that story and I couldn't really remember their names. And I was like, we don't need to add in. I can't imagine how difficult it is to adapt. And also like adapt a book that is so well renowned and is like impacted the rest of literature, to want to hold true to Jane Austen's brain. But yeah, I agree. I feel like if this is just like a from scratch movie, there's just way too many characters.
I needed a reference chart. I think if I had been given one at the beginning, it would have made the watching experience better.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Too
I
many.
could draw one now.
Yeah.
Idea
Perfect.
jar.
Idea.
good.
Question for the table. If you needed to cut one character from this movie, who are you cutting? Erica?
Brutal. I want to say Marianne, but she's like so critical.
Erica. The whole house of cards just came tumbling down.
Yeah, I wonder how would this movie work without Marianne?
I don't think it would just be about Eleanor, which
It
like
would literally just be Eleanor pining over a man that she met for 4 minutes. Michelle.
I mean, they could just cut the dad who was in the like
yeah,
2 seconds in the beginning. And
that's a
that's
good one.
that
I liked I liked that scene because I was like giving me ideas. I'm like, if I'm on my deathbed, I'd love to have some ambient, some candles lit.
the
I like
scene.
the drama of like the Victorian death, dim lighting, with my child by my side, telling them that they have to share with their stepchildren.
Yeah, I felt like John Willoughby also didn't like was
Yeah,
I would say is probably the least memorable character for me.
I thought that Fanny's and Edward's other brother was
Yeah,
equally
don't even
annoying.
remember him. Good point.
The
See,
one that dances
I
with.
disagree.
Oh, you.
When he came on the screen, I thought, "Oh, now this could be interesting now
Yeah.
that he's in the picture," especially because they kind of name dropped him in the beginning. I was like, "Now what's going to happen with this guy?" But
I
then it
just thought
didn't
he was
really.
didn't bring anything. I thought he just could have been like a mention, because even they needed to do it because that's who Miss Steele ends up with, which is like
Yeah.
my questions. But they could have just like been like, oh yeah, she ran away with other brother.
Right.
Every episode we usually pick a favorite quote and a favorite scene.
Yeah, so it was that scene where they were sitting around the table having some feast at some time of the day with the Jennings. And they were talking about, I don't remember who they were talking about, but Mrs. Jennings goes, because I love British slang. This is my favorite pastime. She goes, she loves a good winkling.
She is so savage, this woman.
I don't
She's
know what
amazing.
winkling means, and I meant to like look it up, but I I was going to message my British colleague and ask her because she keeps me up to date on all the British slang. And then I thought to myself, what if it's like dirty? I'm not gonna do this over company messaging. So I don't know what she loves a good winkling means, but I thought that was hilarious.
Michelle, do you have a favorite? scene?
I
And
do. So this is the one bright spot in the Eleanor Edward relationship. And it's this really quiet scene where Eleanor is telling Edward that he can take the job as the clergyman in Brandon's parish. So he can kind of like have that quiet life that he wants with Lucy Steele. And they're sitting across from each other. They have this big gap between them, but it's just the two of them in this quiet room. And Edward says to her, like he's like so grateful. And he says, your friendship has been the most important of my life. And then there's this really long pause, and it's so silent that you can hear the clock ticking. And then Eleanor responds with, you will always have it. And then we have this great goodbye where they're parting ways, and they kind of just, they give each other like a little bow. But this is really subtle, but you see Hugh Grant as Edward almost have to kind of like restrain himself from wanting to, hug her, kiss her, embrace her, whatever. But we talk about this a lot on the podcast, or I'm always bringing up that I love scenes that feel like it could be a play, because if it's a play, you can't hide behind special effects or whatever. And that's just what this scene is just a really well written scene performed by two really good actors. And I just thought it was so beautiful.
I love that scene. It was such a good scene. It was kind of like a little heartbreaking in a way too, because you could feel both of them like so much unsaid in that scene, and them just being British and keep calm and carry on. And like that was kind of a manifestation, I feel like, of that. But I agree with you that it was a really powerful scene just in terms of what they both wanted to say, and the audience knows what they wanted to say, but they couldn't say it.
How about you, Laura?
think I just appreciated similarly just a lot of the scenes where it's like two characters sitting quietly together and having these really important talks about life. There's even a scene where Eleanor and her mom are kind of sitting in the kitchen. Marianne finds out that Willoughby is leaving and she's absolutely devastated. And they're kind of just having this exchange about like, well, she like let her be, like let her kind of like work through it. Let's not like force her to talk about it. And it felt so like real and human of how you would approach a conversation with a sibling after they're having a hard time. Like you don't want to like force it out of them. And then it transitions into, we're talking about how much we love tea as like a comfort. And Eleanor says to Margaret, like, go get, I need a cup of tea. Tell them to make her a cup of tea and I'll bring it up. And she's standing in the hallway. And it's just this really beautiful shot of all three doors and everyone is very dramatically upset. So the tone is actually very satirical. It's kind of funny. It's like these three women of all different age groups all crying about the same situation, even though it doesn't directly involve them. This is about Marianne, not about Margaret, not about the mom. And just going back to how strong Eleanor's character is, she's kind of just standing in the middle of those three doorways holding this cup of tea that her sisters rejected and kind of, she doesn't say it, but in that moment, she's like, what am I supposed to do now? Like, I'm standing here, everyone's upset. This is a really dire situation. And it's just such a beautiful shot. It's blue, it's like a little dark. And Emma Thompson is just like trying to hold it together with everyone with a hot cup of tea, and it's just really beautiful, but it's also funny. Like there's funny exchanges between her and Margaret's like, she rejected the tea. Really wonderful job of script writing and between the
Yeah.
producer and the director to very subtle short scene, but I really love that one. I do have, if you guys don't mind, a long list of British witty quotes. So this one is from Fanny, and it's earlier in the film. and they're looking out on their first house that they have to move out to, and she says that I'm gonna remove the chestnut trees and replace it with a Grecian temple. Like, I have no idea what that even means. I love, even though I know Eric Edwards boring, but I love that he says, "I wish to check the position of the Nile," talking
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
that scene was very cute.
I can't remember who says this, but I love this one. And Michelle, I was thinking about this in terms of quotes that you and I are probably going to start saying to each other. A little cottage is always very snug.
Yep.
This is Mrs. Jennings. Was your journey tolerable, you poor souls? This is Margaret. I just thought it was so funny during the first rain scene. She goes, I'm not supposed to run. I loved these are both of Marianne's on the couch at 2 different days. She says, "What care do I have for colds when there is such a man?" Because she's like, "You're gonna get a cold, so you don't take care of yourself." She says, "I've always preferred wildflowers," which I just think is sweet. Another cottage quote, of course. "I'm excessively fond of a cottage." And this is from Mr. Ferrers, this number 2.
That's a t-shirt quote right there.
That is a t-shirt quote. Actually, this was like a pretty deep quote from Mrs. Jennings. She says, "He's not the only man worth having."
Ooh.
She knows what's up.
And then followed by my favorite quote of the film by Mrs. Jennings is, "Does she care for olives?" Because because Marianne is so distraught by the entire Mr. Willoughby thing that she's like trying to console her, and as she's like, she asks if she cares for olives. And I think that has to go down in history. Michelle needs to prepare the lemon. There's just
Yes.
something cool.
This is another, I mean, we've covered so many movies on this podcast, especially in our earlier seasons that we've seen a million times. And now we're kind of discovering these new movies, and I feel like more and more we've said, if we've seen this a million times, we would be quoting this line.
Yeah.
So I think all these new movies need some extra rewatching.
Time for our food section of the podcast.
I forgot to mention this in the things we love. A Regency era British feast. Every single meal is immaculate. It's like Thanksgiving every night. I love that in every single movie, TV show from that era, I always focus on the feast.
They are all
The
feasts.
setting, it's the candlesticks. It's like
It's the
It's
it's outfit. They're so
yes.
dressed up, but it's like there's always like a roast bird and like and it's like there's always like these like it's like the clinking of the silverware and the way they eat the fork, but it's like held like this and it's just I just want to sit there and I want to eat with them. Like I really do. Yes.
Well, they give so much care to every
yes.
meal. There's no, having a power bar while you're, returning emails to someone. Like
Yeah.
every meal was an
Girl
event.
dinner.
Yes, exactly. As Erica eats her crackers at 10:15 at night.
Yes. Exactly.
Can I just make a general statement about all the food in this movie?
Absolutely.
Even though I agree with Erica, I loved all the thought and care that went into every scene where they were having a meal, whether it be a picnic or like a formal dinner. It all kind of felt like that, like Thanksgiving level. From a production standpoint, I wrote down a lot of food sightings, and I think most of it looked like prop food.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
it was either made of, resin or rubber or like none of it actually looked like
Mhm.
real food, with the one exception was, did either of you clock when Mr. Willoughby was eating the apple?
I feel like there were a lot of apples in this. There's a lot of fruits, but I agree. A lot of the food looked like prop food. I really loved I think I would have picked being at the picnic setting because
Mm.
they had 3 loaves of bread, which didn't look very good. But then they just had like cakes and like whole spread. I've always wanted to like truly do a proper picnic out on some grassy knoll. So when we go on our trip to Devonshire, we're gonna have a
Yeah.
picnic. Not only a picnic, but the picnic basket.
Yeah.
You know, the basket? Like, we had a tea set for our dolls, but not for adults. Michelle, do you remember that?
I
The
literally
bigger
know
one?
what you're
You
talking
know
about in your house. Yes.
you remember, right? In the basement?
Yeah.
Actually, Laura, I have been on a recent picnic with you. I don't know if you brought a basket, but when we were in LA, we sat on a knoll, on a grassy knoll, and
I
we had
know, but I don't
wine.
feel like I gave you the best picnic experience. Like, it was cute. I brought my little I always bring whenever I would, we would, like, get pizza or something or sit out by the beach, but I would always bring, like, my glassware because I feel like it's important to have actual glasses instead of, like, paper cups and bring some wine and create a little bit of an ambiance, but, like, I can do better.
It sounds like you
Not
picked.
my best.
Yeah, not my best picnic. Not my best picnic.
Yeah,
Another shirt.
that's another
Wow, a
one.
lot of t-shirts coming out of this
Couple
episode.
T-shirts. We have a lot of T-shirts to produce this season. The food that, like, made me laugh the most was the thing that Erica mentioned earlier, was just the leg. Like, I think it had to have been, like, a pig leg, but it was so large, and it also just had, like, a Jell-O
Yeah.
cake
Yep.
next to it. That was probably the most memorable, and it was at Mrs. Jennings' house.
In my head, modern day Brits still feast like that.
Yes. Yes. Dom has been very into I mean, he's, like, started this months ago because he, like, saves all these recipes and stuff, but he's been making a lot of, like, British he made, like, bangers and mash last night for dinner. It was very good. So, we're on a big British food kick, which is actually perfect for this season.
In that scene with Mrs. Jennings, where they had the dead animal and the Jello mold, they were drinking something. Do we think it was champagne?
I spotted champagne in another part of the movie.
Oh, thank God. What scene? Because I couldn't clock
Well, if
any.
you go back to the picnic scene, they
Mm,
do have champagne sitting in the basket.
Okay,
So
perfect.
just like
Erica, we have a ongoing champagne theory that champagne appears in every film ever made.
that's a good theory.
that
Yeah,
that Greg and
good
Emma
one.
were sipping champagne together on a grassy knoll.
There was a lot to celebrate for her
Yeah.
after this.
Yes.
I'm trying to think, like, what did you guys covered the Goonies, right? Was there champagne in there?
There
Probably.
was. There was in that one. The one that we're not sure it was in, we have to go back for a rewatch, I think was E.T.
Mm,
Yeah.
that would have been
They should
maybe.
have put it in the bike basket.
Yes. We're just gonna crop it in. We're gonna pretend.
You know how like Amblin Entertainment has the ET on the bike as like its like logo?
Yeah.
If we
Yeah.
ever make like a champagne theory shirt, maybe it'll just be
Champagne
that with
theory champagne theory on a t-shirt.
Champagne theory.
So, can we just start a line of t-shirts even though no one is going to buy them, but we can just design them for fun? What do we
yeah.
think?
People love
Yeah. I mean, we
shirts
can
that
print on demand.
Love
say
shirts.
nothing
We're
on
gonna
them.
be making hats. We're gonna be making shirts.
I like champagne theory. I really that guys, that's
I have
a
been
strong
wanting to
one.
do t-shirts for this podcast for so long. Question for the table. Would you buy a film to table very niche t-shirt? Well, speaking of champagne, I think that this week, because they did such a wonderful setting of this time period of doing very well thought dinner parties over candlelight, we should have dinner party, like a true dinner party. We've gone a little bit rogue in our episodes in the recent seasons of doing them in all different types of places, but we're going to just bring it back to a classic dinner party. I think that we'll have it maybe in I'm going to pick Mrs. Jennings Chelsea house because
Mm,
I would want to be there. So Erica, what we do is we're each going to give each other one person and we decide what we think that they would bring to this dinner party or potluck style. So, Erica, I'll give you someone, you give Michelle someone, and Michelle will give me someone. I'm going to give you Fanny just because I feel like we haven't spent enough time with her in this podcast episode. And everyone needs a villain at a dinner party. There would be no stories.
Mm, I am going to give Michelle. I'm going to give you Mrs. Jennings. This is a fun one.
Oh
Lucky
my god,
me.
this is the best party ever.
Yeah.
Laura, I mean, I feel like with this group, if I were sticking to like my three favorites, I should say that we should bring Charlotte. But instead, just to keep it a little spicy, I'm going to bring, or your person will be Mr. Palmer, who is played by Hugh Laurie.
Oh my gosh.
Love him.
This is a party. And I like to imagine because these dinner parties were so full, like there's a lot of other people there, but these three are seated at like a corner of a table, like all together.
Mm.
So we can imagine what the conversations are. All right, Erica, what do you think that Fanny is bringing to this dinner party?
I feel like she is so class centric and she's very into the finer things. So I think she would bring caviar.
Yes, agree.
Yeah.
And
I
she's
don't know
got
if
like
that existed in the Regency era, but she's gonna find it and bring it.
and it pairs really well with champagne.
I think Mrs. Jennings also a traditionalist. Maybe this is a little boring because we do literally see these on her table, but I can't see her showing up to an event like this and not having like some kind of giant animal carcass on a platter,
Yes.
completely surrounded by different fruits and leaves, and maybe there's some cheese involved, just something like really extravagant that takes up the entire table. But the thing that I don't know if we ever see her doing this in the movie, but I'm just picturing her sitting at the end of the table, the big platter is out, and like yes, people are eating, but she's just like eating a lot of grapes. Like she's like picking at the platter and like popping
Mm.
grapes in her mouth as she's doing like her little gossipy thing.
Yeah.
I could see her like also like basketballing them like into people's champagne flutes. So and Fanny's getting very upset.
Yeah.
She's like,
Yes.
"It's
The
not proper
caviar is
eating."
being ignored. She's very upset.
Yeah.
She spent a
Yeah.
lot of money on it.
I think for a drink, but she seems like someone who would enjoy more of like a spritz style
Mm.
drink, something that mixes something bubbly
Mm-hmm.
with a liquor. And if she was in like modern day London, she would just be ordering Aperol spritzes wherever she goes.
Yeah. I can see her like walking around London like with a tray.
Yeah,
But just giving them to other
because
people.
she brings the party wherever she goes.
What a party.
All right,
Um,
Laura, what's Mr. Palmer bringing
okay.
other
I
than his newspaper?
I think that Mr. Palmer is bringing a brandy, but in like the crystal glass, you
Mhm.
know? And he kind of, people come to a party and they either have like a bag of wine or it's like under their arm. Like he like brings it as like a cradle. He's like, I brought my brandy, the finest brandy. It's very expensive brandy. And he's very upset because Miss Jennings like doesn't have preferred glassware that he uses, but he makes do. And as we can see, he does have a soft side. So I think once the brandy is flowing, he loosens up a little bit more and then all is well. I just have this picture in my head that even though he's very grumpy, like I could see him being a baker. Like it's something that brings him peace. Or maybe like modern Mr. Palmer, because I feel like he probably wasn't allowed to bake back then. But I could see him making like sort of in Ted Lasso, how Ted makes biscuits every morning. He has a really family recipe of cookies
Yeah.
he makes, and he brings them like in a little tin, almost like a little,
So
he wants it to be very well packaged. It's very important to him.
yeah.
And he gets very upset when like people aren't interested in the biscuits. So he's kind of just sitting at the end of the table, like drinking his brandy and like eating his cookies. Fantastic dinner party. So for our this or that segment, Michelle, do you want to start off? We're gonna do
Sure. You ready, Erica?
I'm ready.
Okay. Would you rather have your own piano, or as they would say in this movie, piano forte, or your own treehouse?
Treehouse. Easy. Done.
Would you rather twist your ankle running down the hill in the rain or get the flu?
Oh, twist my ankle. 100%. I can't
Right.
handle a
Already been
sickness.
happened. Yeah, yeah.
Mm.
No flus.
Okay, also twisted ankle related. If you go out for a walk and it starts raining and you take a tumble, who do you want to rescue you? Edward, Willoughby, or Brandon?
Oh my goodness. Oh, they're all such potatoes. Mrs. Jennings.
Perfect answer.
Thank you.
Fantastic, Erica. Okay. Would you rather find out the love of your life is already engaged or you have to move out of your elaborate, beautiful home into the Devonshire cottage?
I mean, it's gotta be the cottage.
So you're recovering from your fall.
Mhm.
Would you prefer a bouquet of mixed fancy flowers or wildflowers?
See, this question is so hard because I'm allergic to flowers.
Erica. Neither.
Wait, what?
Yes. So
Wallflowers? Is this recent?
it's always been, and I didn't realize that like anytime Yeri would get me flowers for like Valentine's Day or my birthday or something, like I would always have like a minor asthma attack. And I never correlated it to the flowers until recently.
Oh, man.
So now we can't like have fresh flowers in the house, which is very sad. But
Maybe it was a bad time to
Maybe
bring it up.
maybe the artificial flowers, maybe the Brandon flowers,
yeah,
it would
I
be
can
less.
like
Yeah.
the artificial flowers
You're-
or like box of chocolates from champagne.
Okay. Would you rather go out dancing at a London high society party or have a picnic at Mrs. Jennings' house?
Well, you threw Miss Jennings in there, so now it's difficult to answer, but I think it would be dancing. Like, me and my girlfriends talk about this because most of us have kids now. All we want to do is go out and shake our ass. Like, not for anybody but ourselves. Like, that is
Yes.
literally
Yeah,
all we want to do.
I concur. It's that Dane Cook skit
Yeah.
that we use all the time. The
Yes.
girls, we just want to go out, just want to dance with our girlies in our circle
Yes.
with our little purses and
Yes.
I just want to dance.
I just want to dance.
All right. Would you rather wear Brandon's pilgrim hat or Mrs. Dashwood, the mom's puffy black hat that she kind of wore when she was in mourning?
Yeah, I mean, I'm basically wearing a pilgrim shirt right now, so I feel like the pilgrim hat would go perfect with the pilgrim shirt. So it has to be pilgrim hat. It would
Oh,
complete the fit.
another fashion related question. Pick a look. Marianne's like black shawl look while she's cutting the wheat in the fields. I still do not understand this scene. Someone needs to explain it to me. Or Fanny's green, very eccentric outfit while she's doing something with bird feathers, which I also need an explanation. What's going on? And I guess this also correlates like while you're wearing either of those outfits, you have to be doing the whatever they're doing,
The thing. Well,
the activity.
I have a lot of allergies, so I don't know. I actually don't know if any of those
This
activities.
really does. I think this is a subtle Claritin advertisement because
Well,
she has bugs and she keeps bringing up allergies.
I have a
Erica,
lot of allergies.
you didn't mention this, but you're also probably allergic to the sheep.
I definitely am allergic to sheep 100%. Maybe Ang Lee was allergic to the sheep, which is why
Maybe. Maybe that's why he hates them so
he
much.
just needed Claritin D.
Spring is just around the corner.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
you're
anyway,
confused.
I don't think any of those activities would be good for me, but probably the bird feather thing would have been
Yeah.
better than the field.
Oh, what a shame you have to sit with your favorite person, Mrs. Steele, while doing it.
Yeah, no, she would not be invited. Or I would do what Fanny did to her.
All right, Erica. I don't see any potential allergies with this question. Would you rather carry around with you a large atlas or a tiny pocket-sized book of poems?
Well, practically, I think I would have to go with the poems. It's so funny because that's why I really actually think the movie is supposed to be a comedy. Like, I really
Yeah.
think that it's
Yeah.
like a dramedy or whatever. Um,
He even said in an interview the with the producer was talking about having Emma Thompson be the one that write it, and they said that with this tone, it could either be too satirical,
mhm,
like or very serious, and like Emma Thompson was able to hit on both of those notes.
yeah.
So she was the woman for the job.
Yeah, the tiny book was very funny, and I thought of this is another reference, the SNL skit. Do you know what I'm talking about? Where she has, like, the tiny hand? Her name's, like,
Yes.
Dunice.
Oh my gosh. So good.
Dunice, and she's like
Actually, it'd be so amazing if they had those tiny hands in the film.
tiny hands reading the tiny book.
Yes. Or the atlas. That atlas is large. So you gotta go with
Yeah,
the poem.
I'm gonna go with the tiny unreadable book.
This is kind of tied to Michelle's question, but I'm gonna ask it anyway. Pick a suitor, Mr. Willoughby, Mr. Ferrer, or the Colonel. And you have to you can't get divorced. They are you gotta marry them, you have to live with them,
With
you
all
have
their
to
baggage.
eat breakfast with them every morning because this is proper times, there's no, hiding away with your girlfriends.
I feel like it would have to be Edward, and I'll tell you why. Even though I don't really like him, he's so, like, dry and, like, potato that it's almost like I could just do whatever I want and like be myself. And like he would never try to like change me or like, be overprotective. Like I feel like he would be the one that you could really just like be yourself because he has no personality. So someone has to in the relationship.
I
Yeah.
think that's the right choice.
Yeah.
I'm also thinking about how Laura brought up, like, he really just wanted to live this simple life, and
Yeah.
that's appealing to me.
Yeah.
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 I feel like he was very much written by a woman.
He's just been engaged for 5
Yeah.
years. That's
Right.
it.
That's
That's
it.
it. Well, Erica, you have been such a treat. I think that we may need to talk to your agent about having you on for the rest of the season
I mean, you're
because
bringing us all these sponsors, so
we just I mean, we got Clarendon, what's next? It's gonna be Alka-Seltzer. We I'm sure there will be some Alka-Seltzer needs in our upcoming films.
If your nose is dry, we got it all, guys.
We have it all
There's
right
here
here.
for you. Oh,
It's
my
free.
favorite on my husband's stand. Might all.
oh, love it.
We're gonna be continuing our Regency season. And next week, we are going to be covering another Jane Austen work of art, Emma. This entire season is just Emma themed, even though Emma Thompson's not tied to the other movie we're going to pretend she is.
Thank you guys for having
Um,
me. I had so much fun.
Thanks, Erica.
Yeah. So come and listen in.
See you then.